Joan Davis is a woman who moves through the earth, the sea, the seasons and life, merging seamlessly with the elements of each, and with the intention of allowing each to do what it wants to do without imposing her will. A dancer by profession, Joan pioneered the contemporary dance movement in Ireland and continues to explore avenues around movement. As a child, her family found peace and contentment in Gorse Hill near Greystones, County Wicklow, a holiday home on the edge of a steep hillside overlooking the sea. Recognising that the sea brought out the best in all the family, Joan found this to be a place of profound healing, and through time felt compelled to claim the guardianship of this hillside retreat. Today, Gorse Hill is an artistic haven, a healing centre, and is the result of Joan's deeply considered and symbiotic relationship with the environment. We meet her as she returns from a morning swim in the sea.
Yeah, I was awake early and in gleeful anticipation of your arrival. And I got up and I got some things ready, and then I did a couple of stretches, and then I went down for my swim. Yeah.
Tell us about that. Is that something you do?
It's something I do at least every second week, because I need to have the tide in, and
it needs to be fairly calm.
And it needs to be calm, yeah. And the temperature needs to be warm enough. Mm-hmm. So this morning was grand, and the water was just gorgeous, and there were a couple of seals there that were actually very friendly, more friendly than usual, you know. I went down for the swim and came back, had the shower, and there you were, bang on time.
As we can see, though, this is not a little trot down to the beach. I mean, there's mountaineering involved.
There's definitely cliffhanging.
So, I mean, that's tremendous that you have the strength and everything to do that.
Well, it is. Thank God I still have that. No, I'm just so grateful. This year I'm able to do that again. And what I love is going down and seeing the new flowers that have come out each time I go down. So because there's all this rewilding going on this year everywhere, and I've just finished a permaculture course, I'm seeing things so differently, and the amount of just food out there is extraordinary. Natural food. Interesting, because I was born in 1945, so it's right at the end of the war. And my parents, my father's family particularly, they had left Russia. So we're of a Jewish background, and they had left Russia around the 1890s in the pogroms. So he was born in about 1916. He was, how would I say it? I mean, he was a very traumatized person. I know it's a very bandied about word now, but his whole thing was that the home would never be taken away from them again, you know. So that's a very ancestral kind of trauma coming down. The home would never be taken away. So he worked from that fear. I have three children. Yeah, I have two daughters and a son. The two girls live down in Greystones and Delgany, respectively.
Yes. And
Leslie, my son, he's in New Zealand. And I was married to the artist Joan Davis for many years, and he died in 2005. And I came out here and I started from scratch.
Can I ask you, what age were you at this point?
I was just 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Gerald was a fantastic influence on my life, because he really opened up the world of art to me.
Yes.
And
I mean, he was extremely well known.
And he was extremely well known.
Yeah.
And to my parents, especially my dad, because they wouldn't have, they didn't know from art as such. But my dad had a very good eye. So as Gerald took him around places, and he started to invest in some good paintings and things that he liked. So Gerald really brought all that to the family, which was wonderful.
Yes.
And music as well, jazz he was very into,
And Joyce, I believe.
And Joyce, yes, yes. He was the Leopold Bloom for many years.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
So sorry if it's a bit personal. How was your relationship with him if you broke up?
Yeah.
Or would you rather not discuss that?
No. I mean, I can say only from my side, was that it just, like, I was married at 19.
Oh, were you? Very young.
And I had Debbie at 20. So I hadn't lived really, and again, that was the thing that Jewish daughters did in those days. You got your daughters a good shidduch, they would call it. So It was a good marriage, And then the men didn't have to worry about the fathers didn't have to worry about the daughters anymore. They were taken care of because everything would go to the son.
Yes. Your parents.
Yes.
What was life like growing up with them?
Well, now, which side of the story would you like?
Your side, preferably. At 9 a.m, we stopped for breakfast, which consisted of homemade vegetable soup and a bread that she makes using clarified butter made to coincide with a full moon, sprouted whole grain buckwheat, unroasted, and short-grained brown rice, amongst some other ingredients. The mixture is then left to mature and then roasted in the oven. Some fruit and ginger tea completed the meal. Later in the afternoon, Joan tucked into a tin of sardines and a healthy homemade juice. These are her only meal times, and she retires for the night when most of us are considering having dinner. Gorse Hill is a 4-acre property in 3 levels, containing pieces of sculpture and installations, which form an integral part of Joan's authentic movement practice.
Good morning, everyone here.
Who have we got here?
Oh, just got the gang, really.
Yes.
They're all full of the joys of spring. Summer, Irish summer, full of the joys of an Irish summer.
And do they hold well when it rains?
Well, it depends how much rain. They definitely shrink a little bit. Like, thank God we as humans don't melt, but they do a little bit.
Okay, yes.
Oh, there we have the sun.
Ah, lovely.
Perfect.
It's great timing.
Timing.
And that's your studio up there?
Yeah. I'd like to come back to these ones. I made this piece about 2 years ago, Earth Sky Dance I call it, and these figures, I started to draw these figures, and in fact they went into a book that I wrote about a program that I ran called Origins, which was all about our development from preconception to standing, and our emotional, physical and cognitive development in those very formative years and time. And these figures started to come out. And I really got this, apart from being a dancer myself and getting older and not being so active anymore in my dancing, it's all movement from the word go. It's all movement and it's all flow. It's liquid, it's fluid, and it's all in motion. And when I say it, I don't even know what the it is, but energy perhaps. But it is all moving, and it is in the movement and the constant movement that things change and transform and manifest and fall away and come back. And so it's just a total mystery to me how we manage even in a body at all, and how we get to be this concrete is extraordinary. So this is really something to do with that flow of movement. I call it earth-sky dance.
But when you have people here dancing, are they taking from that?
Yes. So thank you. So yes. So if somebody started to move in relation to this, I've no idea really what they might do, but certainly they have to be with this for a long time. It's like any intimate relationship. You need time to get to know each other. And so there'd be a lot of hanging out with this and just feeling what happens in your body as you're with this, and how that might want to express. Yeah. And often I find when we're out and when we're on the, people just want to lie down on the ground actually, and everything slows down because the earth rhythm is actually very slow in itself. The sky rhythm might be faster, but the tissue, the rhythm of the cells, it can be fast and it's certainly constant, but actually body time is much slower than thinking time, for example. We can have a thought like, we can think like this, but body takes much longer to, oh yeah, like, yeah, yes, I get it now, to feel. And because it's coming up out of our own earth in some way. The consciousness is coming up out of our own earth. Like at this stage in my life, I can look back and I think, what was I so busy about? What was I rushing around everywhere for? Because now I can really find the pleasure in slowing everything right down, and it's much more satisfying.
Isn't that a lovely thing about aging?
Yeah, it's
that you
wonderful.
Really get to the stage where you say, what the hell was I doing?
What was all that about? The desperation and the need for this and the reaching and the grasping and it's actually all here. It's uncanny, that. Yeah. So who knows? Anything. But this is another lovely little thing in here that I just made this, and I just love it. It's just gorgeous. It's another little sitting spot just to be. And I had this really sweet little 3.5-year-old with his mummy here last week. And he completely went through his whole birth in this. It was just so beautiful. Yeah. We were down here for ages and he enclosed it. He said, I'm not coming out. And, he was just brilliant. He was brilliant. So, yeah. So this here is the amphitheatre anyway. And
would you hold events here and things?
Yes, we've had many performances here over the years. When did we started performing here? In 2005. Yeah, I mean this circle has been here forever, but we just gave it a bit more shape, I suppose.
Yes.
But the circle was here forever. And yeah, we've had many dance performances here, and the audience all sitting around, and the dancers, and yeah. I think something that I've really wanted for myself, for humanity, is to heal the sense of separation that so many, that I have felt, the pain of that. Yeah, the pain of that. And so a lot of my artwork and my dance work, in a way, has been to try and bridge those gaps. So the first performances here were a way, I was always looking at ways to really include audience, that there wasn't this them and us, or us, you know, them and us kind of thing as audience. And that's a big job to do, because again, culturally, you know, we go into a theatre, we sit in the darkness, we look up at a lit stage, and that's all magical and wonderful too. I love that aspect of theatre and dance. But then there's another way of the knowing that all of us are actually creating this event. We're creating it in the moment, and that's where my interest lies. So the Earth Sky dancers and all the little figures that you see, that I say good morning to and hello, and they're my pals. They're made from a mixture which I've kind of developed, and I went to visit the gardens of Heligan once many years ago with my grandsons, two of my grandsons, and we came upon this huge earth figure lying on the ground, and I didn't know what it was made of, but I said, I've got to make one of those. So I went home, came home, and I started to explore mixing things together. So I mixed the ash from my fires, which is wood and peat briquettes, which are sadly going out of fashion, and the rotted down grass cuttings from the garden. And I mixed them together with just water from the well here, and I found it very mouldable, and I started making stuff with that. So it's a little bit like a cob. It's a variant of cob, but it's the most satisfying thing, and it's of the earth and everything that's already here, and I love that. This plant is called mullein, and it's a really good plant for the lungs. And I'm so curious that post-COVID, this has all seeded itself. There was she's still there, a big figure lying here. This was my first attempt at this earth woman, and they've all landed right into her. And post-COVID, with all that respiratory stuff, I just thought, isn't that a bit uncanny that it's come in so virulently into the garden? I wanted to make, this was probably one of the biggest first installations that I made here. And again, it's in circles, in figures of 8 and circles, and I got two willow weavers to actually do the weaving, but I designed it. So we can come in for a little tea party in here. This is the tea party. This is a fundamental part of our existence, is condensing and expanding. It's like the basic rhythm of the whole universe. We're always doing that, and we breathe in that way as well. So the garden has these little more condensed spaces and then more open, and yeah. It's a bone dancer. They're all dancers here, really. I love bone. I just love the sculpture of bone. And so this piece here is bone on rock. and bone bike. And because I love one of the trainings, the very fundamental and important training that I did when the dance company closed down, was to going to the States to work with Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen in something she called body-mind centering, and it was very in-depth study of the all the different systems of the body. And so the muscles, the bones, the connective tissue, the nerves, the blood, all the fluids, and bone was one of my favourite because it helps give me structure, because I know I am creative and that energy, as we all are creative beings, but that energy of creativity can sometimes be a bit scary. So I'm really glad to have my skeleton to ground me. There's something about that. When I was studying bone, I came upon a book that described it as the bedrock. So I've just put bone with rock, and it's really, I mean, it's very beautiful. Again, the sculpture, like this is a pelvic half. So do you see the spiral in that? It's just, yes, yeah. It's really like Henry Moore, eat your heart out. You know, you just don't get it better than this in my eyes. And I mean, that's another thing. I can totally appreciate artists that draw or sculpt. But I suppose from me, from my perception, and I appreciate them and I see the beauty in them, the real thing has something else that's just, it's naturalness or something that touches me even more than a representation of that thing. Yeah. So, and that's very personal to me. But as I say, I totally can appreciate the representations too, and find it inspiring as well. So that's that, yeah, we can go that way. So we can come on to the decking here, because this might be a nice shot. Yeah, while we're down this area of the garden and while the sun is out. So this tree actually that we were sitting under down here, this tree is planted on a placenta, and the placenta, the produce from that placenta is a fine strapping 24-year-old now and the tree is definitely representative of him, and it was somebody that I supported in their pregnancy and in their birthing. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yes, it's a nest. Yeah. And I think I'm going to make some giant dinosaur eggs to put in it.
What a brilliant idea.
Yeah. This is the fairy corner. I'll have to check that you're allowed film.
Sorry. I think that's a yes.
I think that's a yes. I think that's a yes. Come. They're delighted to be showing you the absolute messiness of their home.
They are a bit messy, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And they're delighted to be showing you that. It's overgrown. This is the king of the fairies, but he's just been taken over by ivy, and he's quite happy with that because it's giving him a kind of a camouflage. And this is the queen of the fairies here. She's a little shyer, as you can see. She's kind of turned away a little bit. I have been trying to work in this corner for years and years, and I would come down, I would neatly arrange everything, I would do this, that and the other, and the next day it would be total chaos again. And it took me years to realize what energy I was actually dealing with, because these folk were my allies when I was a child. They were absolutely my allies. When there was no adult there, they would come and play with me.
So you're never lonely, are you?
I am sometimes,
Yeah.
but then I remember, yeah, my ego gets lonely.
Oh.
That's a wonderful way of putting it.
That's the one that gets lonely,
Okay.
but I'm never
And
lonely.
the creative aspect is never lonely, I imagine, either.
Well, sometimes, you know, I mean, I feel like I work in my own bubble. I don't even go out to see art much anymore. And because I was very inspired by a singer called Bobby McFerrin. You might have heard of him. He improvised. He had an amazing 8-octave range voice, but he would improvise largely. And he was an expert musician. He had all that skill, but he locked himself up for about 3 years so that he wouldn't be influenced by the outside, so he could find his voice. And when I heard that about him, I thought, yeah, I'm a bit like that too.
Now that's interesting because a lot of artists say that, well, not a lot, some artists will actually say that they don't look at other artists.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it contaminates their thought.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it can be lonely and it can be extremely stressful stepping into the depths of creativity. It definitely can. But once you get over the threshold, then you're in the madness of it.
Yeah.
And then you have to come out again, you know, so it's always this, yeah. So these pieces now, I'd love if you can capture these in some way, because this has been a whole new development for me this year. You see the dancer in that, can you?
I can.
Yeah, and the movement in it. That's all that matters to me, that you can see the dancer. So this has been a big development for me, I suppose, this piece. I can't analyze it yet, but this is about the dancer leaving, in a way, you know, or the body leaving or something. And what's left when you take out matter? It's like, I don't know, the something of nothing and the nothing of something. I really don't know. But this is what happened, and I love the cutouts. I just love the empty space and just left with that frame. And you can see everything in that, really. If you stand in front of it, you'll get your own reflection as well. You know, I can see myself here and I can see right through it as well.
So is this you?
Well, it's a part of me,
Yeah.
I guess. I can't imagine that any piece of art is not a part of the person who's created it. It has to be. It's come from them. So no matter how much they want to distance it from themselves, it's them.
You said you had a slight preoccupation with death.
Yes. Yes.
Would you like to elaborate on that, or will we drop it immediately?
Well, it's just when I turned 70, I realised this isn't going to go on forever.
Do your best to keep it going.
You laugh in the face of death.
I do, I'm laughing. Because I just want to include it. I mean, it's like, it's the subject that nobody speaks of. During COVID, I was so struck by nobody's allowed to die here. You know, like maybe the 90-year-old, it's not to say, you know, that they should die a horrible death or anything like that, but, you know, enough is enough already. You've been around, maybe this is your time. What are we doing here? And this obsession with keeping, I know it's part of the Hippocratic Oath and it's very important, but, you know, where nobody's allowed address dying and consciously be with that. And that feels very important to me, that I want to die consciously. if I can. Yeah. I don't need a long, drawn-out thing, but just to be alive in my dying is what I really, that's a prayer.